I do with a high-dose lipospheric vitamin C from Live On Labs. You too can benefit from Live On Labs' lipospheric delivery system. No more pills or powders. That's outdated technology. Live On Labs has the world's most efficient vitamin delivery system, period. Learn a lot more today at liveonlabs.com and benefit from their new reduced pricing. That's liveonlabs.com, Livon labs.com.
Eat dessert again with the new 100% natural line of high-protein, low-carb Quest protein bars. I love lemon cream pie and strawberry cheesecake, but you can choose from chocolate peanut butter, coconut cashew, or cinnamon roll as well. No matter which one you try, you'll feel like you're eating dessert. But this is no ordinary dessert. With 20 grams of high-quality whey protein isolate, 17 grams of prebiotic fiber, and sweetened with stevia, these bars will make you feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to superhumanradio.com and click the Quest Protein Bar banner ad to learn more about these clean and delicious protein bars.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
If you followed my transformation on Facebook, you've been wondering what I've done to create such dramatic results. One of the things is I've started every day with the Ketogenic Prime and then trained fasted and remained fasted till my first meal at 2 o'clock. Ketogenic Prime gives me all the energy I need while shutting down hunger. And since the ketones are bound to a quad mineral blend, I'm getting all the magnesium, calcium, potassium, and sodium I need to keep my minerals in balance. Try Ketogenic Prime yourself. Go to superhumanradio.com and click the Ketogenics banner ad today and save 25% off your first purchase. Ketogenics Prime. I couldn't have done it without you.
You've heard about turmeric, and you probably use it. It's one of the most talked about health foods in America. Pure Indian Foods sources certified organic turmeric from small farmers in India. This limited edition turmeric is standardized to contain high, naturally occurring curcumin, which is the good stuff you want. It's also lab tested for heavy metals, which you want less of in your food. Psst. Don't tell too many people about it. It's limited edition. Get yours today. Go to highcurcuminturmeric.com today to learn more.
Do you know how to properly use carbohydrates to ignite your performance in the field and in the gym? You will now, thanks to this free book by EFX Sports. The Carb User's Guide for Maximum Performance reveals why omitting carbohydrates from your diet can totally crush your gains. Ever wonder how many grams you need for your specific sport? Not anymore. We give you the critical number you need to dominate your competition. You'll even discover the super carb that's taking the athletic world by storm. You must try it to believe it. Go to getcarbolin.com/carb guide today. Dominate your competition. You'll even discover this. Once again, it's getcarbolin.com/CARBGUIDE. Mitochondrial uncoupling is the holy grail of fat loss. Making mitochondria work harder raises body temperature and metabolic rate without the jitters of stimulants. Now there is an over-the-counter mitochondrial uncoupler that will let you shred your body down to the last pounds of body fat. It's Trojan Horse. This is the supplement breakthrough of the decade. Go to superhumanradio.com and click the Trojan Horse banner ad. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your order today. BlackstoneLabs.com. Trojan Horse.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where brawn and brains finally meet.
Welcome back. This is interesting. We started out with just a radio show today, and now we're doing Facebook Live and a radio show. And I do it all by myself. So the picture I had up a little while ago on the Facebook Live, Clay Tisdale, who listens from California, said he was shocked when he saw the rest in peace. He thought I actually died. But then he read on and realized that it was the fat me that died and the lean, muscular me that lived. And I'm very proud to say that Andrew Scarborough is watching all the way from the UK. And those of you know who Andrew is, he's been on the show because he used the ketogenic diet to reverse his own, astrocytoma. And so people are going to say, you know, Carl, haven't we talked about this? Dominic D'Agostino and Angela Poff and Thomas Seyfried. And yeah, but you know, people still don't get it. You would be astounded by the number of people who have cancer, or know someone that has cancer, and they have no idea that there is a dietary template that acts as a therapeutic aid to resolving and treating cancer. And so I applaud anyone who takes the time to write a book, or for that matter, get out and talk about it often enough for people to hear more. And my next guest is just such a person, Miriam Kalamian. I am pronouncing your name properly. Is that correct? No. I'm sorry, I had your microphone off.
Oh, you got it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here. Yeah.
So I think it's important, before we talk about your book and what people can learn from it, why you even took this journey that led to you writing this book. Obviously, you wanted to shout it from the rooftops and let everybody know what you had learned. Talk about your background, your story.
Yeah, well, I was living my life, and my husband and I live in Western Montana. It's a pretty good place to live. And but in 2004, we learned that our 4-year-old son had brain cancer. And I mean, that's devastating. It's devastating enough for anybody, but when you're thinking 4 years old, size of an orange, inoperable, and this is going to shorten his life. So the best we're going to do by engaging in conventional care is kick the can down the road. We didn't even know of anything else to do, and we just got on board with the 14 months of weekly chemotherapy, and that didn't touch it. And then we moved to another 12 weeks of another chemotherapy, and that didn't touch it. And then we had some very risky surgeries, and that reduced the bulk of the tumor, but it grew back. Clinical trial, and it was then that we knew we were coming up against the end of the line as far as conventional care. Once he failed that clinical trial, there was only palliative care left for him. So, yeah. And at that point, he had just turned 7 years old. So, I wasn't looking for an anti-cancer diet. There wasn't even any information out there. I was researching drugs, and I had found some information, and I bookmarked the page. And when I went back, that was gone. And Dr. Thomas Seyfried, you mentioned him. He's wonderful. His paper had just been released that day. I mean, I just caught it on the day of its release, and it was the calorie-restricted ketogenic diet in a mouse model of glioma and aggressive brain cancer. And yes, I'd already been, told stay off the internet, and I'd already been told mouse model research.
Who told you to stay off the internet?
When my son was when we learned about his cancer, it was December 24th, 2004. Dismissed from the hospital for the Christmas holiday, and as we're going out the door, the doctor says, "Don't look on the internet."
Oh my God!
So I looked on the internet Christmas Day, and what do I see? My son doesn't have a chance in hell. That's what I see on the internet. That's why he told me to stay off the internet. So yeah, so I find this research paper, and I wouldn't have been as attracted to it except for one thing, and that was Dr. Seyfried was talking about some research that had been done, just a couple of lines reference in the mid 90s at Case Western, and it was a 8-week, very simple 8-week trial ketogenic diet in 2 children that had aggressive brain tumors who were palliative also. And so, God, did that catch my eye. And I emailed him, and he so graciously emailed me back and started sending me all this information, papers, and what little there was, which was Charlie Foundation at the time. I got up to speed with it. I was in Connecticut going through this clinical trial with my son. And my husband's back home in Montana, and I'm talking to him on the phone, and my husband's got a bullshit detector like you wouldn't believe. And I just asked him to run it through his detector, and he couldn't come up with any reason we shouldn't do it. And it's like, if you can't come up with a reason not to do it, and it's been done in children, not just for epilepsy for 100 years, but it's been done in children with brain tumors, then what have we got to lose by giving it a try? We're at the end of our string anyway here.
So what I find most interesting about all of this is that it appears to be mothers who are trying to save their children that are making some of the deepest inroads into this type of treatment. I think of she's been on my show from Max Love Foundation, Andrea and her husband. So what happens is, and thank God for mothers. None of us would be here without them.
Fathers. Jim Abrams was the one that found the research in cancer.
No, and I get it, but when a mother sees her child in a situation where this child may die,
they're going to die.
They leave no stone unturned. Because they want to save their child. I can see it's still a very emotional discussion for you as well. And when I look at the people that are making some of the greatest contributions to this discussion, it's mothers trying to save their children. I love it. I just think the phenomenon is just very, very interesting to me. Very interesting.
Well, there's nothing like it. They talk about the mama grizzly bear. Well, your child is threatened, and, you are going to go to every length, or at least I would hope that most people are going to go beyond what is offered to them in conventional care. Because in conventional care,
if you're open, so there's two things that have to occur. Yesterday I talked about today's show, and I talked about it in the context of another disease that has found great success in a dietary therapeutic approach. When I had Dr. Dale Bredesen on my show in 2013, no one knew about the research he was doing in Alzheimer's disease. And now he has I think it's a New York Times best-selling book called The End to Alzheimer's. Yep. And the funny thing is that when you talk to people about this, they go the same way, and I'm sure you've heard this, oh, come on, if that was true, wouldn't my doctor know about it? How could they? It's like you want to bang people on the head and say, don't you get it? It doesn't fit into their wheelhouse to talk about nutrition. It just doesn't.
I have a slide in one of the presentations I do, and that's it. If there was evidence, it would be in my journal, and then I show like this unreadable journal page, and it's like it is in their journals. It's just not. Even if to give you an example, in epilepsy, the ketogenic diet is evidence-based. Okay, but if you're a parent and you go in and you say, "What about the ketogenic diet?" If you're not talking to a neurologist who's supportive of the diet, he's going to say, well, just do this instead, or just have the surgery instead, or the diet's too difficult.
That's what they say. I love that. The diet is too difficult. Oh, your child won't stay on it. Really?
Yeah.
And children thrive on it. I know children who have been on the ketogenic diet for epilepsy long enough to where they don't have to be that way, because it actually, the neuroplasticity of the young brain allows it to adapt, and then you don't have to stay keto for the rest of your life. Right. And I know children who've been on the ketogenic diet, and their attitudes and moods have changed. They're less mood swings, easier to cope with. People don't realize how much of the issues of child rearing have to do with the food that you're feeding your child.
Yeah, and that goes across the board. I want to be clear though, I wouldn't suggest ketogenic diet for every kid. I think paleo is a great diet for kids, but ketogenic diet is a therapeutic diet. We're looking at a really specific application here.
Yes. So now let's talk about your son. Tell your son's first name is?
My son's name was Rafi, and he was, like I said, he was 4 years old. When we learned about his cancer, we think it was there since his own development, and so it was really infiltrated into all the tissue, and that's what made it so difficult to consider operating. But also size of an orange. I mean, this thing was huge and had a life of its own. Right. And kids adapt, and so we didn't know he was doing all this adapting until his vision went south. And there were attitude things and, behavior things, but, that could have been attributed to any number of issues, but not the vision. That's how we discovered what was going on.
So when you put him on the ketogenic diet, what happened? What did you see? What changes occurred?
First, I want to tell, I really want to tell you what happened, because I'm all into the advocacy of it and how we had to stand up for this. So after finding out this information, gathering this information, doing our homework, I feel I need to discuss it with the lead investigator of the clinical trial he was in. So I bring this information to him, and he rolls his eyes And he tells me flat out, like, unconditional, diet isn't going to, work here. And then to add to this, he gets on the phone with his high-powered buddy at another institution and gets him to tell me Atkins diet is for fat people and we should stick to the plan, which is ludicrous because what did they offer us for a plan? Palliative chemotherapy.
Right.
So, I mean, it was crazy. So there was nobody that was willing to help us in 2007. It just wasn't going to happen. Too much of a liability for cancer. But his local oncologist back here in Montana and his pediatrician here in town said they would medically monitor for this. So we went ahead with a trial. We used the diet for epilepsy. So, dotted all my I's, crossed all my T's, or so I thought. That's another story. So, and 3 months later, his tumor had stopped growing. It just actually shrunk back from the tumor margins. I wasn't expecting this. I was hoping it would slow down. I was hoping we'd get something extra, but it stopped it in its tracks and it shrank back. And that just blew me away. And that's the point. I figured, I don't really understand this. I don't understand how this worked. I don't understand the science. I wanted to learn more. So that's when I went back to school and got a degree in nutrition. And that was really important to me to get that solid background.
When the tumor started to not only stop progressing, but actually started to regress, what did the physicians say that you had originally worked with that said, the Atkins is for fat people?
Okay. So one doctor said that it was the result of the radiation, the pseudo-progression changes in radiation. And I went, well, he didn't have any radiation, so let's rule that one out. So another doctor, the oncologist in the clinical trial said it was a late effect of the clinical trial. And, this is the same guy that had told me flat out this wasn't going to work. And now he's trying to attribute it to something else. And the fact that it held for way longer than this palliative chemotherapy was expected to hold, which was, if there was any response at all, 18 months. Well, my son got 6 years. We kicked the can down the road. 6 years with diet.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is amazing.
I want to take a break, and when we come back, I want to pick it up and start talking about the book itself and what people can learn, because there's a lot of people out there who probably are going, okay, I'm willing to try it. Where do I start? So why don't we do this? Let's take a quick commercial break. You're listening to Superhuman Radio. We'll be right back, and you can get this book yourself. We'll tell you how in just a moment. Stay tuned. There are a few products that I believe in the way I believe in Can-C eye drops. I've been using Can-C for 6 months now, and the changes in my vision are nothing short of amazing. Wow, that's an old commercial. The truth is I've been using Can-C eye drops for 11 years now, and I credit Can-C eye drops as being the reason that I do not need reading glasses at 58 years old. Can-C eye drops improve the quality and health of your eyes indefinitely. That's why I both use and endorse Can-C eye drops. Go to wisechoicemedicine.com and learn about how Can-C eye drops can improve the health of your eyes and the quality of your vision today. If you followed my transformation on Facebook, you've been wondering what I've done to create such dramatic results. One of the things is I've started every day with the Ketogenic Prime and then trained fasted and remained fasted till my first meal at 2 o'clock. Ketogenic Prime gives me all the energy I need while shutting down hunger. And since the ketones are bound to a quad mineral blend, I'm getting all the magnesium, calcium, potassium, and sodium I need to keep my minerals in balance. Try Ketogenic Prime yourself. Go to superhumanradio.com and click the Ketogenic banner ad today and save 25% off your first purchase. Ketogenic Prime. I couldn't have done it without it. U.S. Wellness Meats is the leader in home-delivered, high-quality animal protein. Grass-fed beef, lamb, bison, and dairy. Plus, wild-caught seafood, heritage pork, and free-range poultry. Everything delivered right to your door within days of your order. There is no one better to supply you and your family with the highest quality pastured meat product and dairy than U.S. Wellness Meats. Save 15% off when you use the coupon code SHR. Go to superhumanradio.com and click the U.S. Wellness Meats banner ad today. Hey, this is Carl. Start your day just like I do with a high-dose lipospheric vitamin C from Live On Labs. You too can benefit from Live On Labs lipospheric delivery system. No more pills or powders. That's outdated technology. Live On Labs has the world's most efficient vitamin delivery system, period. Learn a lot more today at liveonlabs.com and benefit from their new reduced pricing. That's liveonlabs.com, Livon labs.com.
Ever feel like you want something crunchy? From the company that gave us the Quest protein bar, now comes the Quest high protein potato chips with 21 grams of high quality protein and only 5 grams of carbs and no artificial ingredients. Just like Quest bars, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to superhumanradio.com and click the Quest High Protein Potato Chip banner ad today and get ready to be satisfied. Thanks to Quest Nutrition, chips just aren't what they used to be.
Now, the #1 best-selling non-hormonal anabolic agent at PredatorNutrition.com. Progenadrex has established itself as the category killer. If you're having difficulty gaining muscle while staying lean, you owe it to yourself to try Progenadrex. 100% of store reviews rated it at 5 stars, the highest possible ranking. And today, right now, there are guys pouring their hearts out in the gym with little or nothing to show for it. Don't waste any more time. Go to PredatorNutrition.com today and get Progenadrex, the world's absolute best drug-free muscle gainer.
Do you know how to properly use carbohydrates to ignite your performance in the field and in the gym? You will now, thanks to this free book by EFX Sports. The Carb User's Guide for Maximum Performance reveals why omitting carbohydrates from your diet can totally crush your gains. Ever wonder how many grams you need for your specific sport? Not anymore. We give you the critical number you need to dominate your competition. You'll even discover the super carb that's taking the athletic world by storm. You must try it to believe it. Go to getcarbolin.com/carb guide today and get your copy absolutely free. Once again, it's GETKARBOLIN.com/CARBGUIDE.
You are listening to the Superhuman Channel. We're ripped and we're ready.
Welcome back to Superhuman Radio. We're talking to Miriam Kalamian, and we're talking about her new book, Keto for Cancer. And the title is perfect. It's simple. Anybody who looks at that would go, gee, what is this about? Not enough people realize that there is a therapeutic approach. And we're not saying it's going to cure all cancers. I want to be clear about something. Cancer is an evolutionarily advanced cell type. It will do everything it needs to do to survive. In fact, I predict that the more keto is employed to manage different types of cancer cell lines, they will adapt over time. I had the same exact discussion with Dominic D'Agostino on the show. But in the meantime, we can leverage it. So when did you publish this book, first of all?
Oh, it's only this version of it has only been out since the middle of October.
Okay. And where can people get it before we start discussing what the book is about?
They can get it through their local bookstore or through Amazon.
Okay. So what does the book do for the person who is a complete neophyte? I've never heard of keto before. I've just been diagnosed with the glioblastoma. I've heard that brain tumors lend themselves to this type of approach, specifically because you don't get as much pushback from the medical community because most ionizing radiations actually make the tumor grow faster, and chemotherapy doesn't get to the brain, so they kind of throw their hands up and go, well, this is one we're not going to lose anyway. I mean, we're not going to win anyway, so go ahead, if you want to do snake oil, go ahead and do it. What exactly will someone get from the book if they know nothing about this?
Okay, one of the really important things they're going to get out of the book is the advocacy. So, we had to go through that ourselves with our son, and it was just overwhelming to come up against this wall of experts, supposed experts, who are telling you that what you're doing isn't going to work, or you're going to nutritionally compromise your kid in some way, or whatever, and to be able to stand firm in that, to be able to sit in that doctor's office as he told me that flat out that this wasn't going to work. And then he had me sign off. I forget exactly what that paper is called. Right. I had to sign off that I was refusing the care that he was offering offering.
And that is
so intimidating.
That's a high pressure tactic. We all know that that's a high pressure tactic. That's a tactic actually used by a lot of different sales organizations too. It's like, okay, we warned you, now you're taking this in. We don't want to be responsible for when things go wrong.
Right.
It's terrible.
And actually, he made that statement. He said, "I'll see you in a few months." And well, didn't happen. But so the book, it has the advocacy component, which I think is really important because we don't yet have a good support network. We have these online groups that are a little bit fragmented for support, but you're not going to find the support in the medical oncology world. And then the other part of another part of the book is just the nuts and bolts of how to do the diet. And there's a lot of nuances for cancer that I've learned and I've put into the book. And people can look at that and go, yes to this one, no to that one. It's just, just more information. It's more resources. And then there's the science. Because if you're going to go and start a diet like this, you don't need to have the science to do the diet. I want to make that clear. You don't need to understand the science to do it. But if you're at a point in your life or in your study of ketogenic that you want to understand why this is working in cancer, that's what I put in the book too. So I've wrapped it all up. It's into one package. It works for practitioners who want to learn more. They're going to be at the higher level and they're going to understand the science.
Doctors need to be reading this book. But more importantly, I like the idea of the juxtaposed strength to be your own advocate and the science, because when you're talking to your doctor, now I want to say something. I've been talking about pushing back against doctors for 12 years. Doctors, bakers, mechanics, no one is endowed by God with any kind of special talent that they are, they're going to be good at this. So you have bad mechanics, you have bad bakers, and you have bad doctors. And quite frankly, it's our job to tell our doctor, I don't agree with you. I'd like some more information. If they get upset with you, fire that person, because they are now planning on taking the role of God. They know everything, and they don't know.
We fired a bunch of doctors along the way. We fired the ones that were not supportive of us. Well,
at least open-minded.
Yeah.
At least, but with your book, you can say to the doctor, well, look at this research here. Go look it up. Read it for yourself. Tell me what's wrong with this.
But you know who that's going to benefit? That's going to benefit the person with cancer, because the doctor's not going to read it. The doctor may not even take that book. I have a client that just bought 3 copies to bring to her different doctors. And I'm thinking, that's a nice gesture. And that's, it's important for her to have them have these copies. But what really matters is that when your doctor says diet doesn't matter, instead of being crushed by that you go, oh, diet doesn't matter. Obviously, he or she doesn't get it. So if diet doesn't matter, that's my green light. I can go ahead and I can do ketogenic because there's nothing to stop me. And that's where we came to, Carl, there was no medical or nutritional objection in either that clinical trial doctor or his high-powered buddy. They didn't have any objection to it. It was their opinions that they were stating. And what is their opinion worth to me when their path is put this kid in the hospital and just treat him till he's dead? So,
right.
It's like, I just want people to understand that, yes, you need to run this by your doctor. You need to talk to him about it. There may be a legitimate concern somewhere. If you're really low weight, this isn't a weight gain diet. So, what are you going to do if you're really low weight?
Well, it can be a weight gain diet if you're not doing it for cancer, because if you're doing it for cancer, you have to be under your calories. You have to be, because if you pile on the fat on the dish and you're eating above your REE plus whatever your activity is that day, you will put on body fat. But that's not the goal. The goal is to be in a hypocaloric state when it's cancer.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you can't be hypocaloric, and I want to make this point because some people who are low weight think that they can't approach this through diet, we have some fasting options. And I don't mean long fasts. That's not appropriate. God, Steve Finney just put out, and Jeff Volek just put out a post on Verta on some of the dangers of fasting. And I really believe that it's appropriate in some places and not in others. But what we can do for fasting is that daily intermittent fasting. In the research, they call it restricted feeding. But it's where you narrow down the eating window and then and you keep that long time from dinner until sometime, like you said. It's what you do. It's what I do. I don't do it to the degree. I do about 14 hours. Today it'll be a little more because I wasn't about to eat before sitting down to talk with you. So that is another strategy. Even though you're taking in enough calories to maintain your weight or even gain a little, where that fasting period is pressuring cancer as well. And short-term fasting around chemotherapy, incredibly powerful.
So Daniel Orrego writes that you also point out the use of metformin, exogenous ketones, and some other therapies. Could you talk about that a little bit?
I will, because that's one thing that really separates me. I couldn't really put a lot of that into the book, but it's what separates how I work with individuals from the bulk of people out there who are working with ketogenic diet and cancer. I am willing to go that extra place that puts me in danger, actually, of having somebody come after me on this, is that I will talk about metabolic therapies. You've got these combinations, and we're not going to get to cancer management long term with single strategies. Like you said, cancer's pretty clever, can work around a lot of things. But if you keep hitting it with these different metabolic therapies in combination, I think we can get some long-term management, that kicking the can down the road. So yeah, there's one protocol. It's called Care Oncology. Travis Christofferson has got a program going in South Dakota that supports this. Metformin, a statin drug, an anti-parasitic drug that you could give babies called mebendazole, and cycling it with an antibiotic called doxycycline that one doesn't kill your good bacteria, doesn't impact it the same way. So putting those in combination are appearing, and they're about to publish some results on that, are appearing to have as much of an impact on some of these cancers as the really toxic chemotherapies. So we just got to find better ways to get, better outcomes. We got to find non-toxic ways to get to these outcomes instead of just hitting it with what I think we can do actually is back off on some of the toxic stuff, combine it with some of this other stuff, and make a much more therapeutic protocol.
What specifically is 3-bromopyruvate combined with capsaicin, which I know is pepper, and EGCG? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I can talk about it a little bit, and I'm happy to say that it's going to come to market pretty soon. But that's not a part of what I want to communicate to people. They can go online and get that information about 3BP, Pete Peterson and Young Co. And look at what's going on at Dayspring in Arizona. But the metabolic therapies that are out there right now that can be used right now are things like hyperthermia. That's a metabolic therapy.
Right.
Okay, hyperbaric oxygen. If you talk to Dom, and Angela, that's one thing they've been looking at is hyperbaric oxygen therapy in conjunction with a ketone supplement. Because the science, again, it's like the deep dive on all of this stuff, because the hyperbaric oxygen used for cancer shows no effect at all. There's multiple studies that show no effect. There's a few studies that show some effect. But when you combine it with ketone supplementation, in the case of the research at USF, University of South Florida, it was a ketone supplement that's not even available on the market right now. Will be, but not right now. So they combine ketogenic diet, ketone supplement, hyperbaric oxygen in a mouse model of metastatic disease. So that's cancer that's spread body-wide. And they ran a mouse model through this, and the mouse that had all three of those therapies, the group that had all three of those therapies, lived a lot longer than on average, significantly longer than the mice in the other groups. So yes, mouse model research, but that's where we have to start.
Yeah.
And I find that people that are doing combination therapies are living a lot longer with better quality of life on average. And the ones that aren't living longer, that's what we need to look at too. What is it why didn't this work for them? Why didn't this combination approach or even ketogenic. Why didn't it work from them for day one? And Tom Seyfried, he says it's the glutamine. And when you look at what's going on in cancer, you are looking at, and I talk about it in my book too, I talk about glutamine. And it's very well known that there are some cancers that are more glutamine avid than ketose avid. But and we can address those somewhat through diet, but again, it's the whole package of keeping carbs so low that you're in a ketogenic state to start with, and then limiting the amount of protein so that you're not stimulating the growth pathways that are upregulating cancer. Right. And then providing enough dietary fat to keep any weight loss that's going on kind of slow and sustainable over time. So it's the whole package of things. And I use that daily intermittent fasting, short-term fasting around chemotherapy as aids in that too. And if somebody can start with a short fast, that a lot of times in cancer, they want to do that because they want to take back some control. But really, it's better to get into ketosis first. Right. And then do the fast. It spares muscle mass. There's a lot of evidence that somebody who goes into it from a ketogenic diet is only using a fraction of muscle mass to sustain compared to somebody who goes into it from a standard diet. Mm-hmm. So there's all kinds of that whole thing is just going to grow over time. We're going to have a smorgasbord like they have for Alzheimer's. We're going to have a smorgasbord of things that work, including certain supplements. I think are key to all of this too. And it may be different for this person with a glioblastoma and this person with a glioblastoma because their mutations are going to be different.
I want to, before we go into this next break, I want to touch on something you said, and that's hyperthermia therapy. Dr. Robert Gorder used to teach at UCLA. Uh-huh. He used to use hyperthermia therapy in conjunction with dendrite therapy. And he was reversing very aggressive pancreatic cancers. He was doing it very successfully. So early research, they were actually infecting a person with a pathogen that would make them develop a fever. But they found they had a hard time controlling the fever then.
Right.
So then they started doing what he called, like the fast food heat lamp things, where they put people in these chambers where they would raise their core body temperature. And then they would take blood, spin their dendrites out of it, and inject it directly into the tumors. And the tumors were going away. Well, the FDA banned him from doing it. Mm-hmm. So he and I communicated a lot, especially when I first started doing the show. So he moved to Cologne, Germany, and he started working with the Cologne Model Cancer Institute. Well, today it's called the Cologne Gorder Cancer Institute because he's had such great success using hyperthermia therapy to obliterate a variety of very, very aggressive cancers. No one does that in the United States. Just raising the core body temperature.
Yes, I understand what you're saying there. And it is a shame that we have to go outside of the country to look for these therapies. There's another type of hypothermia, though, hyperthermia that can be done in the United States, and that is it's more of a localized hypothermia. And there's a certain equipment that can be used. There's a couple of people in the U.S. that I know of that are using this therapy. And then, but also there's a clinic in Istanbul, Turkey, that's combining some metabolic therapies and using insulin potentiated low dose chemotherapy. So there's all these projects in different places, and eventually this will pull together. But people with cancer don't have the luxury. They have it now. They don't have the luxury of time to be waiting for this for the U.S. to finally come into this. But the problem is access. So you find a doctor, even in the U.S., that does some of these therapies, and you run up against the financial burden of doing this out of pocket. Now, there is Dawn LeMan. She's in Ashford, Oregon, and she's an MD, and she has a clinic there in Oregon. And so she does some conventional stuff along with some of this other metabolic therapy. So a lot of what she does is and a lot of the monitoring that she does is covered by traditional health coverage.
Wow, that's impressive.
And I know it is very impressive, and it's going to be more people like Dawn over time. Mostly what we see is, people we see a lot of naturopathic doctors as integrative oncologists, but their services aren't their blood work might be covered, but most of their services, like consultation services, aren't covered, and it becomes, again, it's another one of those obstacles in the way of access. And so if you could take some cheap drugs like metformin and mebendazole and a few of these other therapies, and combine them with a few other things that are out there
like a high-fat diet. I mean, the ketogenic diet is probably the simplest diet to be on if you understand, 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1 fat to combine protein, carbohydrates. It's easy for anybody to figure that out. And it's easy to take an average meal and make it keto by adding fat to it, healthy fat. I mean, it just makes such sense.
I call it a different mix of familiar foods, but there's a limit to what you can do there especially for brain cancer. We got to keep it really low. So there's no way you can take a food like a sweet potato and
or lasagna. You
can work it into a low carb diet. And you can work it into, if somebody needs to do a little weight gain, maybe you can work that into it carefully. But for ketogenic diet for cancer, there's like I said, there's nuances to doing it.
All right, we're going to take our last commercial break. The book is called Keto for Cancer. It's available wherever fine books are sold. You can also go online and buy it at Amazon.com. If you know someone who's struggling with cancer, recently diagnosed, or you yourself, you owe it to yourself to open up your eyes, broaden your horizons, and learn about what this diet could do for your outcome. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio. Do you know how to properly use carbohydrates to ignite your performance in the field and in the gym? You will now, thanks to this free book by EFX Sports. The Carb User's Guide for Maximum Performance reveals why omitting carbohydrates from your diet can totally crush your gains. Ever wonder how many grams you need for your specific sport? Not anymore. We give you the critical number you need to dominate your competition. You'll even discover the super carb that's taking the athletic world by storm. You must try it to believe it. Go to getcarbolin.com/carb guide today and get your copy absolutely free. Once again, it's GETKARBOLIN.com/CARBGUIDE. U.S. Wellness Meats is the leader in home-delivered, high-quality animal protein. Grass-fed beef, lamb, bison, and dairy. Plus, wild-caught seafood, heritage pork, and free-range poultry. Everything delivered right to your door within days of your order. There is no one better to supply you and your family with the highest quality pastured meat product and dairy than U.S. Wellness Meats. Save 15% off when you use the coupon code SHR. Go to superhumanradio.com and click the U.S. Wellness Meats banner ad today.
You've heard about turmeric, and you probably use it. It's one of the most talked about health foods in America. Pure Indian Foods sources certified organic turmeric from small farmers in India. This limited edition turmeric is standardized to contain high naturally occurring curcumin, which is the good stuff you want. It's also lab tested for heavy metals, which you want less of in your food. Psst, don't tell too many people about it. It's limited edition. Get yours today. Go to highcurcuminturmeric.com today to learn more.
If you suffer from abdominal bloating, relief is here. Introducing
Atrantil.
Developed by a board-certified gastroenterologist, it relieves bloating where it starts, in the small bowel. That's why
Atrantil
works while other remedies don't. In clinical trials, 88% of bloating sufferers who use prescription medications with no relief found
Atrantil
relieve their symptoms, and it's available without a prescription because
Atrantil
is made from a patented molecular combination of botanical extracts. It's not a probiotic. Plus, it's natural, vegan, gluten-free, and non-GMO.
Atrantil. Atrantil.
Atrantil. Even the name is proven to make you feel better.
Go to lovemytummy.com and use code SHR for 10% off. That's code SHR at lovemytummy.com. Lovemytummy.com.
AnabolicMinds.com is the premier website for credible information on building muscle, burning fat, supplementation, and more. With over 100,000 active registered members and over 2.5 million posts, it's one of the largest communities on the internet to get help and answers to your questions. It's also the place that the official Superhuman Radio Forum is hosted. Visit AnabolicMinds.com today and get into the action. AnabolicMinds.com. Learn, teach, lead. There are a few products that I believe in the way I believe in Can-C eye drops. I've been using Can-C for 6 months now, and the changes in my vision are nothing short of amazing.
Wow, that's an old commercial. The truth is I've been using Can-C eye drops for 11 years now, and I credit Can-C eye drops as being the reason that I do not need reading glasses at 58 years old. Can-C eye drops improve the quality and health of your eyes indefinitely. That's why I both use and endorse Can-C eye drops. Go to wisechoicemedicine.com and learn about how Can-C eye drops can improve the health of your eyes and the quality of your vision today.
This is the Superhuman Channel, doing reps with the weight of the world.
Welcome back. We're talking with Miriam Kalamian today about her book, Keto for Cancer. And it really is a book that people need to know about. More people need to know about the effects of the ketogenic diet or ketogenic diet, however you want to say it, on cancer. The fact that some antibiotics and antimicrobials are working. What are we learning about the microbiome and its contribution maybe to endotoxins that stimulate the growth or progression of cancers? Is there anything there at this point in time?
You know, that I haven't done a deep dive into that. The research on that is just really kind of getting started. There's been a couple of papers recently that people can access if they're doing a search for them. There's a difference in what the microbiome is going to look like in somebody who's ketogenic than not. And even two people eating the same exact foods, their microbiomes are going to be different. And we had a whole conference on microbiome, and researcher after doctor after whatever kept saying, you know, we're just speculating right now. We don't have all the information. And I think that's going to play into the whole brain health. Also, the microbiome is going to play big into that. I want to say something before we get back to to the rest of this, that people that want to learn more can go to my website, dietarytherapies.com, and there's excerpts from the book there, and there's also some just incredible resources. I have a food list there, and I have links to videos, and I'm trying to put more on every day. Tom Seyfried just did one at the American College of Nutrition that I'm going to be uploading onto my site, but people can also find it through a YouTube search. So there's a lot more. I mean, we had just so little. We had, back in 2007, I had the new book from Johns Hopkins. It was like the updated version. I had the Charlie Foundation. I had the papers that Tom Seyfried had sent me. And that's how we did this diet. So, there's just so many more resources. And my book is a huge step in that direction because it can also help practitioners. The material that's been out there before hasn't really brought practitioners, coaches, nutritionists to a point where they feel comfortable dipping their toes in that ocean of cancer. I mean, it's just a huge ocean, and it's a hard thing to get started in. But my book is a real big step in the right direction. Also, I'm going to be doing I'm going to be presenting at West Palm Beach, Low Carb USA, if people go there. And I'm going to spend a whole day just talking to people ahead of the conference, no charge, and just meeting with people, practitioners that want half a day with them and half a day with people with cancer. We're just going to sit around outside, soaking up the sun and talking about keto for cancer.
One of the things that I worry about is there has become a cottage industry within the keto community. Most of it is weight loss related, but it's actually damaging credibility of the diet. Now, I'm not saying it's damaging credibility of the diet in its therapeutic use in cancer, but whenever you get zealots who stick to a diet, regardless of whether or not it's good for them, right. And you can see it's not good for them because you have women on the internet going, I've been on keto for 6 months. I stopped losing weight. my hair's falling out, I'm lethargic, and instead of someone sensibly saying to them, get off the keto diet, they go, oh, well, you're not eating enough fat. I actually saw on a particular very popular keto guru's Facebook page where this woman was saying that since she's been on the ketogenic diet, she's become very depressed. They were actually suggesting that she consider getting on SSRIs. And I'm thinking to myself, no, the logical thing is to tell this person not to do keto any longer. Maybe they've been on too long, or maybe they're just not.
They haven't optimized the diet. It needs to be a well-formulated ketogenic diet. And there are some people that this isn't going to work for. But if you're feeling crappy and your hair's falling out and you've been trying this for 6 months, either get some help or get off the diet.
Well, and I will say this: if you have a brain tumor and the brain tumor is shrinking, but you feel crappy and you're losing your hair, that's the trade-off for staying alive. But if you are not,
the hair loss could be from something else you're doing too, like chemo or radiation. So I mean, when people tell me that their glucose is high and they're like in their 6th week of radiation, of course your glucose is going to be high. It's not going to be as high as it was if you weren't doing ketogenic diet, but it's still going to be high because you're killing brain cells, and there's a consequence to that in the body. So, you're getting radiation for cancer, and there's a consequence. Your inflammation's going to go up, and with it, up goes the glucose. It's a normal reaction. So that's about the nuances. People need to know what to expect when they're doing this for cancer, as opposed to doing it for some other reason. Yeah.
Do you have any upcoming speaking engagements or anything like that? Book signings, anything like that coming up?
The West Palm Beach is that's the one that's most immediate. That's coming up in the middle of January. I'll be talking to the individuals, like I said to you, on the 18th, and then the conference is 19th, 20th, and 21st. So you go to lowcarbusa.org. So that's the prime one I want to talk about right now. And I'm doing a number of shows. Thankfully, I'm doing this one with you. And this is all helping to get the word out. There's been incredible response to this. And what I love is I've been getting more practitioners talking to me too. And, there is a certification program that's in the works through the American Nutrition Association. And that I've worked on those materials. I'm starting to work with a fellow on Parkinson's, on modifications that would include ketogenic supplements for low carb or ketogenic with Parkinson's. And of course, like you mentioned, Dale Bredesen is out there with modifying your diet. And I want to mention my friend Georgia Eade, Diagnosis Diet, her blog, excellent on Alzheimer's. So if people are interested in that application. That she is a psychiatrist at Smith that works with college students. She's like, please listen to what I'm saying. This starts decades before you can actually see a symptom of Alzheimer's. And we should all be thinking about modifying our diet by the time we're middle age, and I do want to say that fountain of that minefield of misinformation that's out there on the internet, like you brought up, those forums and blogs. And if I were to do, in the beginning, I have to say, when there were fewer of them, I did answer. I did try to help on some of these. And now I stay away from them because they're crazy making. There's just so much bad stuff out there. So find the good sources, follow the right people. And you've mentioned them. It's, Tom Seafried, Dominic D'Agostino, Angela Poff. What I'm doing, if you're interested in Alzheimer's, you look to Georgia Eade and see what she's got out there. So, and she's speaking at West Palm Beach as well. So, there are resources now that weren't available 10 years ago. So we will get there. There will be this, this grassroots movement that brings us to the tipping point. Social media, podcasts, live things. I would love to speak. People just have to ask me places. And I'm willing to do this. So I think you kind of figured out what I'm driven by. This is my son's legacy. He only lived to 13.
Right.
That's not enough time to build a legacy of your own. So I'm building it for him.
I think it's wonderful. I really do. And I want to thank you so much for taking time to come on the show today. It's an important message. We can't ring this bell often enough. There are so many people still living in the dark about how this diet can help them. And thank you very much for taking the time to write this book.
Thank you. Thank you, really.
All right, and we are going to end the show here and say thank you to Nate Morrison for the first hour Military Fitness Radio. We want to make sure that people know to check out his website, American Defense, and that's defense with a C.US. And tomorrow's Friday, which means I'm off. But I've got lots to do here at the studio. We'll see you right on Monday. We have a bunch of great shows planned for next week. See you right then. Thank you for listening today.